Um, let's see. Wait. Okay, my microphone's on. Excellent, excellent. Everything seems to be set up correctly. Hello, everybody. Uh, Wonderful friendship friends, broodlings, all that jazz. I am Ozma in the Dark. I feel like I've been running to some degree off of adrenaline, and I'm back to running off of regular sleep awakeness, and I need about like a million hours more sleep. However, not today, my dear friends. Not today, for today is a day where I'm reading more of this horrible piece of garbage. That is a foundational element to a lot of the transphobic movement calling themselves feminists. For they we haven't gotten to that part yet, but somewhere in this book, this author says something to the effect of feminism isn't really about fighting for equal rights. It's about fighting to become more equal with yourself or something. Some weird BS like that. And while understanding yourself better is important, it is very important. This person is awful, and yes. So my notes from the previous session, since this is an ongoing self torture of sorts, sort of like self flagellation. I know this person was an ex nun, so I'm sure she would understand. Accusing most feminists as being socialists who are indoctrinating people through universities, which is it's an anti-Semitic framework, and that's generally how this author seems to view people disagreeing with her. Has a problem with feminism being classified as a general type. I think she has a problem with the categorization. But yeah, frames deeper friendships as having a purpose to influence power structures. Uh, Hetero reality, the worldview that women exist in relation to men, has consistently perceived women together as women alone. Like, which, I mean, that's better explained through toxic masculinity, but yeah, originally seems to describe internalized sexism. Miss Raymond here seems to use it to create hierarchical system of women. So, um, there was foreshadowing of her beliefs. Primary attraction of women for women. This attraction is neither natural nor ontological. Only the woman who is self-created can be an original woman, not fabricated by man and a friend to other women. Vital self equals true self. Vital women equals women true to themselves. There's a lot of use of the word vital. She appeers to have a thing with that, but yeah, Mary Daly's device of capitalizing self to distinguish between imposed internalized self. Yeah, so that's yeah, that is internalized. Yeah. Um. So, dear God, I hate how many weird new things. Jin or Gaian affection. hetero relations. So, certain words recur throughout my work. Oh wait, no, this person isn't even British. She's I think she's American, if I recall correctly. Whatever. The most frequent of which are gyne affection, hetero relations, and hetero reality. This is so. Oh wait, no, I already have a definition for hetero reality. The worldview that women exist in relation to men has constantly perceived women together as women alone. I will mention if puts a contrary definition. Thank you, trees, 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 trees. But if this person puts another definition that's contrary, I will mark them as hetero reality definition 1, hetero reality definition 2. So generally, gyne affection can be defined as woman to woman attraction, influence, and movement. I don't know what she means by movement. I assume she doesn't mean that women are shitting out other women. I could be wrong. Hetero relations express a wide range of effective social, political, and economic relations that are ordained between men and women by men. Once again, this is all better defined with toxic masculinity from all I've heard. Hetero reality describes the situation created by hetero relations. I mean, that doesn't technically contradict the previous definition, but it's not much of a definition on its own. In many ways, gyne affection is a synonym for female friendship. You know what? I'm gonna quote that because I feel like organized like organization movement. Yeah, I mean that seems to. So attraction, influence, and movement. So women being attracted to other women, women influencing other women, and women creating organizations with other women. That is a very broad definition. In many ways, the word gyne affection, however, has a context of its own, which helps to elucidate how I use the term female friendship throughout this book. Dictionary definitions of affection and affect shed further light on the meaning of gyne affection. Okay, so let's see. Dictionary definition: affection, a gentle feeling of fondness or liking. Archaic, or sorry, wait, gentle feeling of fondness or liking. physical expressions of affection. Affection can be used to describe the physical expressions of affection. Archaic, the act or process of affecting or being affected. A condition or disease, an affection of the skin, a mental state, an emotion. Affect. Have an effect on, make a difference too. Touch the feeling of someone emotionally. Yeah, no, I get the, like, yeah, that didn't shed any more light. Most people know what affection means. And most people understand the dictionary definition of affect, unless you're solely using affection in the archaic sense. Which, I mean, that would be its own thing, but dear God. So the more, oh, here we go. The more commonly understood meaning of affection is a feeling, emotion, fondness, attachment, and love for another. She's trying to use both. I see. In this sense, skin affection connotes. I apparently can't read fancy English sometimes. The passion that women feel for women, that is, the experience of profound attraction for the original vital self. So the original true self. So this is basically implying, I am so glad I wrote down these definitions. She wanted excuse to use elucidate. But so this seems to be suggesting that either all love that women experience come from Eve, or all love that women experience comes from God. And I'm not sure which. Original vital self, and the movement towards other vital women. Other women who are true to themselves. Okay. Dear God, I hate this person's weird definitions. There's another meaning to affection, however, the archaic one, which conveys more than the personal movement of one woman towards another. Affection, in this sense, means the state of influencing, acting upon, moving, and impressing, and of being influenced, acted upon, moved, and impressed by other women. Yes, people can influence and affect each other. That is something that people do. Everyone has influence and affection towards each other to some degree by the archaic definition. Those are two very separate definitions, meaning two very different things. But I can see why you might want to I mean, but this is combining so much stuff, because it's defined as woman to woman attraction, influence, and movement. So this seems to be more just women influencing each other. Like, influence and movement are are in the definition for affection. So, or sorry, yeah, affection. So, um, I see. That's why. Again, affection. Okay, that is the shortened version. But dear God, it feels so unnecessary. But yeah, Virginia Woolf expressed this wider meaning of gin affection when she said, "Only women stir my imagination." So, like, when Virginia Woolf said "only women stir my imagination," I believe she was specifically talking about. Hmm, she was not talking about any broader sense. I think this is a very basic statement that was only talking about the affection aspect and not the influence aspect. She might have added "only women stir me to action power." I don't think she would have, because it um page 16. Okay, one moment. Let me look where exactly she is quoting Virginia Woolf. Oops. Uh, I keep. Uh, oh, this is. Oh dear God. No. 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 What have I gotten myself into? Wait, I'm still in the introduction. I haven't even gotten to the title of this book. Dear God. Oh, that's why. Cause um that's why I couldn't find the context for the Virginia Woolf quote, because she gives none. Yes, that's a quote from Virginia Woolf. It's in. Okay, it's Virginia, a quote from Virginia Woolf in a novel written about lesbian. So, I think Wolf just wanted to tell women. Yeah. Um, women who affect women stimulate response and action. Bring about a change in living, stir and arouse emotions, ideas, and activities that defy dichotomies between the personal and political aspects of affection. Thus, canon fiction means personal and political movement of women towards each other. As the personal is political, so too the political is personal. So, like, I feel like she may have missed the point. Miss Randolph, was it? Raymond. Sorry. Um. Oh, but arouse must mean sex. Not. Yeah. Well, I mean, this. Oh, arouse must not mean sex. Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, clearly. I mean, like, people in general can do all this stuff. I mean, it's not necessarily specific. Like, yeah, so the Society of Ancient Greek Philosophers and Friends taught that politics was the business of friends. Friendship in the Greek male homo-relational tradition was the basis of the state. Aristotle, for example, taught that friendship held states together. However, the citizens of this polis were all male, women had no civic status, and therefore friendship was an affair between men, and as was also politics. Neither slaves nor women who were considered in many ways to be slaves could be friends or holders of political office. I might need to fact check that. So women in political decision making position. Greece. Oh, that's current Greece. Ancient Greece. Okay, so this is the typical nationalistic attitude towards women. But so in any strong sense of the word friendship, however, male citizens of the polis were not friends. If we regard this friendship of men as homo-affection, as men attracted to men, we see such affection was at best superficially homosexual and at worst murderously effective. Male citizen friends killed each other for power and objectified each other, especially young boys, for sexual gratification. The latter tradition has been long sustained in the gay male community's insistent defense of boy love. Okay. So, blatantly anti-gay, blatantly against gay men, implying they are pedophiles by nature. So that was a immediate, I mean, like tons of mask off moments. I'm wearing shorts today. They're Nice shorts. But yeah, so uh first off, this is all once again better explained through toxic masculinity. With the limiting ways in which men are supposed to be powerful or whatever. Other male political theorists have separated friendship and politics. Michael Walzer espouses this viewpoint. Friendship, like love, describes a more personal relation, and it is probably a mistake to seek the special delights of that relation in the public arena. While that is true, certain kinds of political activity are and have to be possible between persons who are not friends. Both politics and friendships are restored to a deeper meaning when they are brought together. That is, when political activity proceeds from a shared affection, vision, and spirit, and when friendship has more expansive political effect. This is almost a word salad. I mean, yeah, sure, politics and wait, let me actually quote this from wait a minute. Some of this is helpful for finding awful quotes because this person is someone who I very much disagree with and is very problematic in her views. So female friendship is much more than the private face of feminist politics. What part of feminist politics is private? What part of feminist politics is private? Like, the fuck are you talking about? Although politics and friendship cannot always go together, we need to create a feminist politics based on friendship. And we need an ideal of friendship that invests women with personal and socio-economic power. A genuine friendship goes beyond the world of the self relations with other self. God. Okay, a genuine friendship goes beyond the world of self's relations. I assume the true self, the vital self thing is what this person means by this, because they have to have weird definitions of things with other vital women to the society in which the female self is not allowed to grow. Thus, the basic meaning of Gaian affection is that women affect, move, stir, and arouse each other to full power. One task of feminism has been to show that the personal is political. Female friendship gives integrity to that claim. I mean, like, it's not. I mean, personal is political, political is personal. It's not like a complicated reasoning to have. Stuff affects your real life, and it's hard to be friends with. It's hard to maintain friendships with people who hate you. So, like, yeah, it would be hard not to, but like, um, you know what? Because she uses it so much. the personal is political and the political personal. It just that's important for expressing some of the problematic aspects of this. Yeah, so friendship has become such a vacuous word. Disagree. So devoid of substance that one can now speak of home cleaning products as a woman's best friend. Mostly men do that because men don't understand that women do. Well, men in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, definitely. On average, did not accept the fact that women had an existence outside of doing their bidding. But this is a prime example of not only depersonalized, but by the way, I assume most women do not actually literally have ever literally viewed a home cleaning product as their best friend. Or if they have, very dark. Anyways, this is a prime example of not only depersonalizing, but of depoliticizing a word, of taking its personal and political power away. It's not depoliticizing to say a sexist phrase like a cleaning product is a woman's best friend. That's not depoliticizing. It is a political stance. It's just a conservative political stance. It's a political stance of the status quo. This book aims to restore power and depth to the word and reality of friendship. The word gynaffection was created with this end in mind. The best feminist politics proceed from a shared friendship. Now, the best politics in general, I would suggest proceed from an element of friendship. That's a part of community building. That applies to any political action. Whether it be the fighting for the right to vote or the civil rights movement or the gay rights movement or any of that has always been to some degree from a place of friendship. Anyways, this book is also concerned with returning friendship to a primary place as a basis of feminist purpose, passion, and politics. This person loves to proliferate with their petty petty pontification of why can't I remember the word? Their petty pontification of alliteration. All of these words being used without knowledge or introspection. I don't know. You can say a lot. You can say very little with fancy words. But anyways, gynaffection is not only loving relation. Oh wait. Gynaffection defined as woman to woman attraction, influence, and movement. Gynaffection is not only a loving relationship between two or more women. Sorry, that was mean. Anyways, is also a freely chosen bond, which, when chosen, involves certain reciprocal assurances based on honor, loyalty, and affection. Ooh. That's a red flag right there. Um, uh, demanding, a return on your social investment. That does not sound like friendship. That does not sound like affection. That does not sound like loving to say that you need reciprocal assurances based on honor, loyalty, and affection. This sounds very much like you had a better definition. You had a great word for this sort of relationship, transactional. That's it. Very transactional friendship setup. So this is so this definition is very red flag. I love you dearly, but you must do this for me if you're a true lover. Is not. It is kind of what this is saying. It's a very red flag sort of thing. It is not a good thing. In the sense, one could say that friendship is a social trust, is an understanding that is continually renewed, revitalized, and entered into not only by two or more individual women, but by two or more political beings who claim social and political status for their true selves, like their and others like themselves. I assume like themselves. It's weirdly worded. So like, what this person described and what this person's saying afterwards do not connect, or do not appear to connect, so far as I can ascertain. All this fancy linguistics makes me want to talk fancy too. But reciprocal assurances is, it just sounds really, it sounds really transactional bad, and it's like yes, there is so this is giving off real abusive vibes. This section there, or this paragraph, because so most people, when they think social trust, I mean like social trust and caring. If you give a person on the street money, you're not expecting anything back from them, but you're building an element of trust that you're a caring person. What this person, I'm guessing, means by social trust is I suspect what this person means by social trust is trust that you will give me what I desire if I give you something you desire. And that's not a healthy way of doing it. And um it just screams it screams bad. Anyways, hetero reality has conferred social and political status only to hetero relations, woman to man relationships. Um, Weird phrasing, but it was the 70s when this was originally written. In doing so, it has fostered a social context in which friendship, especially female friendship, is regarded as a personal association between individuals who reveal themselves to each other in the intimacy of their private friendly encounters. Phrasing, but of course, some forms of hetero relations are also considered to be personal and intimate, such as marriage and heterosex. But neither of these is viewed as only a personal association between individuals. Both are given public status and sustained by laws, ceremonies, rituals, pacts, and informal consistency of hetero reality. So, hetero reality, by this person's definition, a world that women exist only in relation to men. So, um, it's like this. I mean, it's hard for me not to see this through a context of abuse. After that paragraph, because that's a serious red flag. Um, at least in my mind, and I mean, I'm biased by personal experience, but as such, people things can be said, and a lot of the fancy terminology that's being created in this book is very much a classic egotistical move, and um and there are things that I agree with in this, but it's oftentimes better explained through toxic masculinity, and this framework is needlessly complex, um, which in itself is very much a way of utilizing classism. There's a reason most people who agree with stuff like this are white women and men and rich men, and uh um that might be my opinion of things, but um so yes, there is a social element of power. I mean, I'm not sure I'm not sure how much political status is conferred with regards to marriage, but definitely social status. I'm not suggesting. I am not suggesting. Or, well, sorry. Miss Raymond here is not suggesting that women work for laws, ceremonies, or rituals to sustain affection. Rather, I am advocating that women come to recognize in our friendships with each other the implications beyond the personal nature of this bond so that we ourselves do not underrate its social and political power, a power that, at its deepest level, is an immense force for disintegrating the structures of heteroreality. Dear God, that was a long sentence. It's the empowering of female friendship can create the conditions for a new feminist politics in which the personal is most passionately political. Once again, personal and political stuff for everyone is to some degree combined, especially with laws being passed to do this. It's so much of this is nothing, and the other half is. I swear, the other half of this is nothing, and half of this is homophobia and transphobia, and a small part that I didn't factor in when I divided it into two halves is a part that is correct but better explained by toxic masculinity. So, the woman who is man-made is primed for hetero relations. That's an example of something explained better with toxic masculinity in literature, history, philosophy, and science of patriarchy have reinforced the supposedly mythic and primordial relationship of woman for man, as expressed in Genesis and henceforth in patriarchal perpetuity. The heterorelationship imperative is one-sided. Your yearning shall be for your husband, yet he will lord it over you. Genesis 3:16. Well, I mean, Lilith was the cool one, so of course they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't support Lilith. Anyways, it is important for you to understand the norms of heteroreality have extended or have intended woman for man and not man for woman. Yes and no. So the general nationalistic structure for things is suggests that men are effective. Most men are used as toy soldiers. However, there is a social aspect of men protecting women that's deeper than the nationalistic aspects. There are positive ways to use masculinity. And it's not that women can't protect other women or women can't protect men, and everyone can protect everyone else, but it's not. There is a cultural aspect of men protecting women in terms of attitudes. Women are ordained for men in quite different ways than men exist for women. I mean, yes, that is a problematic aspect of culture. The biblical dictum makes this difference quite clear. It says simply that within hetero reality, woman is ontologically for man, that is, she is formed by him and cannot do without him. I mean, that's not factoring in the. So, the reason for Lilith is that in Genesis, there are. Because Genesis is a combination of a few different variants of stories that were likely told down for a long period of time. So in one of them, men and women are created at the same time. Um, it doesn't specify names with those. It doesn't specify Adam and Eve. It just says men and women are created at the same time and in God's image. Which is the reason why rabbis have, for a long period of time, essentially said that um, God is, because both men and women were created in God's image, God must be both a man and a woman, essentially. God is non-binary by Jewish tradition, and if we're talking about I mean that is also the reason why Lilith, because Lilith was not created from Adam. So there's a story in the Tanakh explaining, I believe it's in the Tanakh, explaining the story of Lilith, which is about the first woman. But anyways, that is, she's for her man-made destiny and desire are consumed by his voracious appetite. Look, we're not getting into 4 here. Her essence and existence depend on her always being in relation to him. As Nancy Arnold has phrased it, woman becomes the quote-unquote essential non-essential. I mean, that's not a bad quote, but it's, yeah, the Bible's sexist. I know this is a shock. The Bible is sexist. Man, however, is accidentally for woman. That is, man's desire and his destiny, while they include women, are not encompassed by relations with women. Instead, his destiny is that of world building in the company of his fellow men. His imperative is to create the world in its culture, science, technology, quote unquote, with the sweat of your brow, and man does this primarily in concert with other men. Now, I mean, yes, there's the element of the patriarchy, although women did stuff, but it was oftentimes taken credit by men. Um, um, Julia Child, I think invented. This is Julia Child who invented the submarine technology to avoid sharks, or to get sharks to avoid submarines. That I think is still being used today. Like, they're women have Julia Child is awesome, by the way. But like, yeah, man's destiny is therefore ultimately homo-relational. The normative and real power of male homo relations is disguised by the fact that such man-to-man rapport is institutionalized in every hetero-relational culture. It is women who bear the burden of living out the hetero-relational imperative. In truth, this is served to provide men with sustenance and support from women they do not get from men. Hetero reality is the foil for homo reality. That is a mouthful of words. So I mean, this doesn't factor in. I mean, that paragraph wasn't a. So this is an example of things explained better with toxic masculinity. So men are taught to be the powerful one, the one doing stuff, the one in charge. Not all men can or have desires to live up to that, and force themselves to conform to world that does not think. But I mean, admittedly, that does assume that there is variety amongst men and women. But anyways, clearly what we observe here is and also men are told to not express their feelings outside of within relationships in private. So men are effectively told not to show affection in society, which is incredibly problematic. I think, yeah. So clearly, what we observe here is no outright promotion of male homosexuality, although in certain arenas, homo relations and homosexuality coexist quite nicely. Most of the time, as Andrea Dworkin has noted, male homosexuality in male supremacist societies has always been contained and controlled by men as a class, though the strategies and containment has differed to protect men from rape by other men in order to order male sexuality so that it is, with reference to males, predictable and safe. No. I mean, almost every society out there is ruled in a patriarchal nature, to suggest that, like, and there has been a specific attitude of nationalism that suggests that men need to be strong and fertile and be with women, not men, regardless of what your desires happen to be. While heterosexual and heterorelational standards are being being visibly promoted and institutionalized in the family, schools, church, and state, what is really supporting the foundation of patriarchy is, in the words of Mary, this person likes to use quotes, Mary Daly, male power bonding, while the erotic components in male mating is concealed and denied. The fact that the erotic component is present but concealed makes the apparently non-erotic power bonding message more effective. What? No. No, because that would be showing affection, and then you'd be viewed as weak. And if you're viewed as weak, you're viewed as a lesser. If you happen to be a man and you're viewed as weak, you're viewed as a lesser man by the majority of American society and a large amount of the world. In affection's both personal and political senses poses a threat to this oppressive male bonding. It's not male bonding. Men have genuine trouble forming real close personal friendships. Like like if you talk to men who are millennials and you talk with men who are Gen Zs, you will see the massive difference in the amount of genuine affection and caring that is accepted so much more in the younger generation. And that is a threat to the concept that men and women have to be a very specific way. There's one of those things where this is ignoring major factors of how everyone but the richest are hurt by this. Although that would be more of that socialism that this person hates. So, anyways, um, hetero reality institutionalizes hetero relations. It was expected in the past, and still in the present, that every woman should be married, and more recently, that every woman's most meaningful and most satisfying relationships are with men. The traditional model for hetero relations is marriage, but many revolutions in history, sexual and political, have claimed to overthrow the hegemony of the marital bonds. What none of them has revolutionized, however, is heteroreality. The societal given that male-female relationships are the really real ones for women in any society, revolutionary or traditional. Hetero relations are the only bonds that receive social, political, and economic sanction from women. In hetero reality, female friendship is regarded as second rate, insignificant, and often preliminary to hetero maturity. I mean, like, if you're talking about, I mean, obviously there are women who are like, being in relationships in intimate relationships with other women is just practice, but and there's still an aspect in society, but that's not. It's not like there hasn't been friendships. So yes, it has been. All friendships are regarded as second rate compared to relationships. Is important to understand. I do not use the terms hetero relations and hetero reality to be synonymous with heterosexuality. Um, um, women only exist in relation to. Uh, I mean, there's aspects of heterosexuality and a lot of that, but yes, it's not technically completely synonymous based on the definitions she has given to her fancy new terminology. Many lesbian feminists, who point out heterosexism as the paradigmatic model for the oppression of women in a patriarchal society. I mean, it. You haven't defined heterosexism. Heterosex. Discrimination or prejudice against non-heterosexual. Okay. It is what I should have figured it was. Uh, oh, well, I agree that we are living in a heterosexist society. I think the wider problem is that we live in a hetero-relational society, a society in which. Wait, how is that different? There's hetero relations by this definition is saying that there's positive aspects, and heterosexism describes the negative aspects. The I mean, they would both be. I don't. I wouldn't say that either would be wider, and both kind of to some degree relate to heterosexism. Um, this seems to be making something up to try to uh, appear superior and more valid in your opinion, type thing. But uh, where most of women's personal, social, political, professional, and economic relations are defined by the ideology that woman is for man, that would be. That would be a hetero reality. That wouldn't be hetero relational. You're not even using your terms correctly. Hetero relations name more accurately the ways in which gyne affection is obscured and eclipsed for all women, even for women who are lesbians. So gyne affection is eclipsed for all women. In fact, it's like there's a moon and there's just like a deep a deep eclipse, but only in the center of the moon, just going right down the center of the moon. And there's a little, like a spotlight where it's not. Sorry, I'm gonna stop. Hetero relations give men constant access to women and have consistently transformed the worlds of women into hetero reality. For example, take over the female world of birth and midwifery by men. Wait. Takeover of the female world of birth and midwifery by men is a blatant example of the transformation. What? Demonstrating, among other things, the hetero-relational imperative that men must have access to women in all circumstances. What was traditionally and primarily a woman-centered event between mothers, midwives, and female kin and friends and has become a hetero-relational drama with, once again, the man, in parentheses doctor, on top in the hospital-based obstetrical script. Even the new so-called natural childbirth scenarios give primary emphasis to male inclusion rather than restoring the tradition of birth as an event that brings women together. Women die in childbirth. Like, there should be more women doctors. That is essentially solves this, and there are more women doctors now than when this was originally written. But like, this is putting childbirth as a magical event. It's an event that it's a very determined event. Whatever. Anyways, Mary Cathy Bateson, in her memoir of her mother, Margaret Mead, tells how Mead was leery of the father's presence in the delivery room, feeling that this role belonged to another woman, one who had the experience of childbirth, a grandmother, or perhaps among the New Guinea the woman has most recently given birth. Racism, but also a particular sort of sexism. I mean, men not being allowed to be there with their wives when husbands not being there with their wives when giving birth is a very problematic thing. That's a problem with medicalizing and pathologizing birth or grown, not loss of girl magic. Yes. Unfortunately, many women succumb to the heterorelational rhetoric of making men quote-unquote equal and quote-unquote active participants in the birthing process, and the traditional bonding of women at this event is obscured and forgotten. No, it's taking away an aspect of segregation that was there. Women have tended to be viewed as lesser, so men understanding the experiences that women go through is helpful for men fighting for women. And helpful for moving society towards equality. Although, at some point this person will mention equality is not her goal. So I'm concerned in this work with the unchallenged proclamations that promote hetero relationships for women. Many of the statements of the second sex, a work to which I and many women owe much, and which was very significant in our feminist evolution, are examples of heterorelational dogma. Women have never composed a separate group set up on its own account over against the male grouping. Such heterorelational doctrines erase and ignore the historical and cultural diversity of women's associations with each other. Also, is not factoring in the fact that in different countries, I mean, that's true in a lot of Europe, but historically, men are segregated from birth process often, so they maintain a quote-unquote attraction to the mother. Yeah, it's yeah. But yeah, no, there are places where women have a different social aspect, and it's not. Cultures weren't all created by men, as much as certain societies like to suggest. But anyways, the net effect of such statements is devastating to the feminist quest for the vital and original knowledge of female friendship. These declarations proclaim that our memories are short, and that the desire to remember is not important, and that ultimately, what? As Debra puts it, man can think of himself without woman, she cannot think of herself without man. Such assertions confine the history of female friendship to the realm of the necrologist. Dark, but also, if we're talking about social groups, like, if we're talking, I don't see how the declarations suggest any of that. But wait, there's a whole world outside the West. Yeah, I know. This person isn't factoring that in. I know. Shock. On a more philosophical level, as all of this is, heteroreality and hetero relations are built on the myth of what? Wait. Are built on the myth of androgyny. Thou, as a woman, must bond with a man to fulfill a supposed. That's not androgyny. It's not a definition I'm aware of. Androgyny. Having both masculine and feminine characteristics. Yeah, that's not. Is there an archaic definition? I'm not seeing an archaic definition. That's yeah. Nobody's used it like it in that way ever. To fulfill the cosmic purpose of reunifying that which was mythically separated into male and female. Arguments supporting the primacy and prevalence of hetero relations are in some way based on cosmic male female polarity, in which so called lost halves seek to be rejoined. In a hetero relational worldview, the overcoming of such polarity requires the infusion of all life with the comings together of the separated halves. All of life's relations are then imbued with and disagree with the way. Okay. Uses androgyny weirdly as a to as a unification and I mean it's not one of those things where it's not completely wrong, but it's weird because androgyny has much like the weird gyne infection or whatever. Yeah. So all of life's relations are then imbued with androgynous energy and attraction that seeks to reunite the cells divided from each other, forever paired and cosmic complementary. All of life becomes a metaphor for marriage. Every social relation demands its other half, its cosmic complement. The two, female and male, must become one, whether in the bedroom or the boardroom. Heterorelational complementary becomes the stuff of the cosmos. Like once again, some of this stuff is accurate to some of the problematic aspects of society. However, androgyny has tended to be used more often as a combination of masculine and feminine, not the combination of male and female. Um, Specifically, but like, that's left to hermaphrodite. Anyways, ultimately, the power of hetero relations derives from their idealization. Like the idealization of slavery, hetero relations have become the dominant structure of a social system by their benign presentation. The more domesticated hetero reality becomes, the more benefit it seems to offer women, and the more entrenched it is to as a social system. Perhaps the way in which hetero relations have become the most appealing, idealized by their liberating, revolutionary image, hetero relations or hetero relationships. Hetero. And androgyny is very different. Otherwise delicate. Or hetero relations or androgyny often seem liberating as opposed to dominance of homo relations in a masculinist culture. This obscures the far greater liberating potential of gyne affection, where women turn to theirselves and others like themselves for empowerment rather than once more seeking help from men. This is starting to sound like a cult. I can see how this became more of a cult-like thing. Hetero relations also affect the theories and realities of feminism by defining feminism as, well, I mean, as the equality of women with men rather than the, yeah, see, oh, this is it. So, um, so, dear God. So, hetero relations, so she's saying that essentially, uh, so let me translate this. So this is saying hetero relations, which are defined. She's used hetero relations and hetero reality almost interchangeably throughout this, but uh, so hetero relations is expresses wide range of effective social, political, and economic relations that are ordained between men and women. So oh dear, how do I define this? So defining feminism as the equality of women with men rather than the autonomy, independence, and love of female true self in affinity with others like herself, her sisters. This definition places feminism at a false starting point, that is, women in relation to man rather than women in relation to women. This is essentially saying, or suggesting, equality is inherently bad and women should focus on self-reflection instead. Because I don't know how else to define that. I mean, it's just saying equality is bad because so she romanticizes living in communities of nuns but hates socialism. Okay. Yeah. Feminism to me has never meant the equality of women with men. It has meant the equality of women with ourselves, being equal to those women who have been for women, those who have lived for women's freedom, and those who have died for it, those who have fought for women, survived by women's strength, those who have loved women and who have realized that without consciousness and conviction that women are primary in each other's lives, nothing else is in perspective. Hetero-relational feminism, like hetero-relational humanism, obscures the necessity of female friendship as a foundation for the consequence of feminism. What? I'm still quoting. Because I like cursing myself with these quotes. So, yeah, it's very much women shouldn't fight for equality. Women should essentially seek godliness, which is a very nun move. I should say it's very understandable that an ex-nun would have this attitude. The imperative of female friendship is that women be equal to our vital womanist selves. So, she's using the women true to the true version of what it means to be a woman. Selves equal to the task of creating woman-centered existence. But men still exist, so you can't complete, and non-binary people exist, and you can't just like cut out a whole section of society, segregate it, and hope for the best. Anyway, this is one of the most important distinctions between radical feminism and liberal and Marxist feminism. Their starting points. Radical feminism starts among the women. Liberal and Marxist feminism begin among and with the men, in tangential relationship to men as a group, whether they be men as oppressors or men as oppressed, quote-unquote brothers. Liberal and Marxist feminism investigates and locate women mainly in relation to male persons, history, and culture. Men have been perceived as the ultimate mediators of reality, so that reality has almost become synonymous with hetero reality. Again, affection assures that feminism will be less and less mediated by men and male definitions of equality. So this is men has a strong attitude of dichotomy that women, so like she's saying that she's not relating women to men, but that sentence right there is defining women as being stuff that women can only define themselves by things not suggested by men. It's an ultimate it's a sort of attitude that there is only men and women, but also it's like it's like um how do I put this? If a man gives a woman a sword and she stabs him, it wasn't her power that killed him because he gave her the sword. It's very much it's a very twisted viewpoint. So it's essentially saying that women cannot truly have power unless that power was given by other women. And while building stuff from the ground up is important, the problem is this is very devoid of reality. I feel like a lot of reality is missing in this. Obviously, swords are phallic, yes. Uh, in affection and lesbianism, the question might be asked at this point whether the term gin affection is equated with lesbianism. Gin affection defined as woman-to-woman attraction, influence, and movement. If gin affection embraces the totality of women's existence with and for herself and other women, if gin affection means putting one's vital self and other women first, and if gin affection is movement towards other women, then many women would expect that women who are gin affectionate and gin affective would be lesbians. Yet there are different ways in which women acknowledge and live out female friendship. I do not wish to simplify these differences or to restrict the reality of gin affection to a lesbian experience. While respecting these differences, however, I do not pretend to understand all of them. In particular, I do not understand why gin affection does not translate into lesbian love for many women. I'm sorry. This is very to understand how women can be close friends without banging. This is this is my editorializing here, but I also do not wish to romanticize the power of lesbian existence. Hetero relations can function quite smoothly in the lives of lesbians who are merely quote unquote commit lesbian sex acts, or in the lives of women who make of lesbianism a lifestyle. Wait. Oh, hetero relations can function more specifically in lesbian role-playing, in lesbian S&M, in the lesbian objectification of other women, or if in the lives of lesbians who act in a woman-identified way in lesbian circles, but who, in their work or social lives, for example, act the part of a hetero-relational woman. Okay, so S&M has nothing to do with men and women. So if you form sisterhood and find it a strength, she doesn't understand not being DTF. Yeah, it does feel like that, but also she wants the relationship to be open. So she doesn't want people to be closeted or like there is genuine and she appears to not be into S&M, which I mean it's fine that she's not into S&M, but don't act like it's with relation to men. In fact, hetero relations as a concept is inherently framing things in relation to men, but and therefore self-defeating. But that's another story. Well, I mean it's not, but like to be a lesbian means to extend what has been called a quote-unquote sexual preference beyond the realm and reality of a sexual category to a state of social and political existence. In this way, lesbian existence can provide certain patterns that can be used by other women to break the stranglehold of hetero relations. Does not mean all women will become lesbians. However, it means that many more women would consider lesbian existence as at least a possibility and at most a real choice. Contrary to popular stereotype and pseudo-biological theories, Women are not born lesbians. Women become lesbians out of choice. So this is very much saying women that she's banged who don't stay with her in a relationship clearly not real lesbians. Clearly that's the problem. But it I dear God, I hate this. This is the last thing of it. She loves a word salad. She does. Like, I get it. Salads seem healthy on the surface, but word salads are really tiring, and you use up more calories trying to sort through word salads than you do gain anything meaningful from it. So, more than any group of women, lesbian feminists have shrunk the power of hetero-reality and have expanded the range and reality of what has been perceived as a sexual category, lesbian sexuality, far beyond the physical body to a social and political reality. For all women, this not only raises the question of lesbianism, but also pushes women to define female friendship beyond the intimacy of a personal relationship to a politically effective state of being. As long as any group of women continuously embodies and externalizes gyne affection, woman to woman attraction, influence, and movement, that reality must serve as a powerful incentive for other women, because women may choose to express affection for women in different ways. My use of the term gyne affection expresses a continuum of female friendship. The distinction between lesbian existence and gyne affection is often not easy to make, but obviously it has been made in the lives of some women. I don't understand what definitions I'm using or how they work, but I will state them with confidence. Many persons, however, would not distinguish between gyne affection and lesbianism. Many perceive an intense relationship between women as lesbian. The ultimate threat to men generated by any act of female intimacy is the threat of lesbianism. Is it? Is it? I'm not sure it is. I don't think most men really. So even by this person's definition, that declaration is weird, because they have a whole defined they're saying essentially that men define women as the only true actions of women between women and men. Most men do that. So by that reasoning, if we're talking about from a logical perspective, by how this author has framed reality, lesbianism would not be a threat because it would be viewed as a temporary thing, something done. There are papers about lesbianism only being done for male enjoyment. The binary gay is fine as long as it stays closeted. Apparently she's saying that being gay is is totally not a threat to men. Gay men are not a threat to men, which is why men really hate gay men and jack off to lesbian porn. Sorry, cishet straight men. But yeah, it's in fact, many men perceive the any act of female authority as lesbian. That is true. That is women having authority is an actual threat. Professional women, female athletes, women who engage in political activism, women who dare to speak authoritatively on any subject are often depreciatingly called, uh, dyke. While men use the term dyke in a pejorative way to label women, they're betraying several attitudes. First, they are saying that any act of affection between women is perceived by them as an act of female authority. So there are two classes of people viewed as lesbians, and yes, some men view female authority as a genuine threat, and also lesbianism or whatever. Any act of female authority conjures up an increased bonding and affection between women, which men feel excluded. Women who dare authorize themselves in their own reality somehow raise for men the specter of those women being accompanied and supported by an army of female. What? No, no, because real women are too fragile to lead. Yeah, yeah, no, this is no, I disagree with this. I think men who see women in a position of authority are very much like, know your place, you don't belong here. The woman who is strong enough to authorize herself is viewed not only as taking power from men, but as taking women from men. And the woman who dares to authorize her love for other women is perceived as seizing power from men. Disparaging epithet Dyke heightens the fact that men perceive female friendships as profoundly political act that make clear that men see female authority as intensely personal and relational woman identified act. So like, yes, men feel like women are a threat, and make various excuses as to why they feel that threat. But I think it's I mean, it's about a changing world, but also and they do say it's about seizing power from men, but it's not power that they would have anyways. It's a cognitive dissonance of men not understanding how women could get to a position of power, much less be respected by other people. Um, from a different and positive perspective, many lesbian feminists have equated gyne with lesbian being. They maintain that literature and lives in which women become primary for and central to each other, while not acknowledging outright lesbian affection and attraction, are in some way lesbian defined. What? For example, Barbara Smith, in her essay Toward a Black Feminist Criticism, analyzes Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye and Sula as lesbian novels. Using Bertha Harris's definition of lesbian literature, Smith recognizes that Morrison did not intend her female characters' relationships as quote unquote inherently lesbian, but that they are quote unquote not because women are lovers, but because they are central figures and positively portrayed and have pivotal relationships with each other. No, that's just a well-written female protagonist. That's a well-written woman in a book. That's what. Apparently, Miss Raymond suggests are inherently, in a sense, lesbians due to dash 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 in parentheses, no reason given. More recently, Adrienne Rich has made the same point in her essay, Compulsive Heterosexuality and Lesbian Existence. She uses the term lesbian existence to include a range through which each woman's life and throughout history of woman-identified experience, not simply the fact that a woman has had or consciously desired genital sexual experience with another woman. Okay, so, dear God. For Rich, the term lesbian must be widened to quote unquote to widen quote unquote to embrace many more forms of primary intensity between and among women, including the sharing of a rich inner life, the bonding against male tyranny, and the giving and receiving of practical and political support. That's a terrible definition. Blanche. So ace lesbian still bet. I no, I mean they're just broadening things so far that you don't even. Basically, all nuns are lesbians by this broad definition. Blanche Weissencook's point in her article, quote unquote, female support networks is similar. Women who love women, who choose women to nurture and support and to create living environment in which to work creatively and independently are lesbians. Well, my lesbian feminist sensibility wants to affirm any woman's womanist existence. Dear God. And affection for other women as lesbian, my philosophical and ethical faculties say otherwise. You made me read a whole paragraph that you disagree with? Philosophically, I have the gnawing intuition that this affirmation is logically incorrect, morally shortchanging to women who are lesbians and patronizing to women who are not lesbians. We need to be clear about the meaning of lesbian contrasted with gynefiction. One woman expressed the difference in the following manner. I've always been aware of loving women more deeply than men, girlfriends in childhood, friends in high school and college, and attended women's high school, and instinctively identified with my mother when my parents fought. With great secrecy and guilt, I had an intensely close and physically affectionate relationship with my best friend through high school. Not until I was discovered in another relationship of this nature at age 18 and punished for my attraction to women did I realize the price women pay for loving women. Confused and afraid of this price, I waited nearly a decade. I buried a decade. This is familiar history with the rise of feminism, especially lesbian feminism. I found a new reality context in which to affirm my lesbianism. During this period that I buried my lesbian, all of my work life, political activities, and best friendships were with women. Sexually, however, I related to men. I was a woman, identified woman in all senses except for being a lesbian. What? But I was not a lesbian, and there exists for me a critical distinction between lesbian existence, female friendship, or guy. I call my prior existence lesbian would have been false and somehow short journey to what? Is this person bi? Or is this person just bi and so closeted, or this person like condition I mean, I'm not gonna discount someone's experience, but like um it's not like this person only fucked men and definitely had desire to yeah, I don't know. Anyways, Pat Hines used a mathematical model to explain the difference between lesbian existence and gun affection, reacting critically to the phrase lesbian continuum. She drew a graph of a mathematical function. Hines explains her graph. That's in mathematics. There are points to... Okay. We're not gonna get through the intro until a couple weeks from now, because dear God. Okay, in mathematics, there can be points of discontinuity in an otherwise continuous function that demonstrate that a unique change has taken place. The graph illustrates that concept. Likewise, in the lives of lesbians and are as distinguished from women who may be women identified in many ways. There are points of distinction with past and present lives, radical leaps and changes that separate lesbians even from their own former gynefiction existence, and they're explaining this difference between going along on a continuum of friendship with women and with oneself at some point. Dear God, the word salad. That pushes you beyond continuing with yourself and impels you towards a different self, helping you move into the new context of women identification. What the fuck are they using women identification? They haven't definition. They haven't defined. Either they didn't define or I missed whatever they're using as a definition with regards to women identification. Anyways, in a certain way, it's extremely difficult to characterize the content of this leap. However, I believe both women in making the distinction between gun infection and lesbian being weird wording in their own lives. We're pointing out that lesbians have taken away or have taken a particular journey involving acknowledgement of themselves and others of their lesbian being. This acknowledgement involves deliberate choice, the exercising of a particular kind of courage and taking certain risks. Women identified women who are not lesbians while showing courage in the midst of women hating society and taking other risks have not taken the specific risk of being of choosing and acknowledging lesbian being. Indeed, some lesbians have not chosen or acknowledged lesbian being. Lesbian being is therefore not reductionistically defined by sexual genital contact between women, although for most lesbians it includes sexual relations. There's very much women who are very close to other women are clearly lesbians whether they admit to themselves or not, and that's problematic. Defining how other people are for them. But this is a person who wrote a very transphobic book, and also I might have to switch to something else uh, sooner and get to chapter 1. From a vantage point, which, while many lesbian feminists may wish to include women who live as gyne-affective and gyne-affectionate existence as lesbian, many of these women would not wish to be described as such. I do not think in all cases lesbian feminists can regard this as lesbophobia. We must assume that female friends know and live their own truth and have consciously chosen their own paths. But that being said, she's still suggesting that they secretly can choose the life of lesbian. I hate all of it. I'm sorry. I'm just rambling at this point. We must assume that some female friends know and consciously chosen their own paths. To do otherwise is both patronizing and pretentious, something that this author definitely is. Patronizing to women who've consciously chosen men in some ways, no matter how much of us may disagree with the choice. And pretentious. That there isn't some underlying patronizing aspect there. And pretentious in the sense of claiming to know these women better than they know themselves. Something this author does a lot. Has already done a lot, but better than they know themselves. Some women have viewed with honesty the layers of heterorelational I get distracted by Facebook message. So, two others, both patron. Some women have viewed with honesty the layers of heterorelational coercion in their own lives. Nonetheless, they may choose to relate sexually or in some primary way with men. The word lesbian in this work connotes a knowledge of and will to affirm lesbian women living. Many women do not choose to live lesbian lives, including some lesbians. They may move in the world of female friendship, and their affinity and struggles for women may be often characterized by intense gyne affection. However, to use the word lesbian in these cases is false inclusion. Women who are lesbian must have a history of perceiving themselves as such and must have the will to assume responsibility for lesbian acts, erotic and political. The use of the term gyne affection throughout this book is an attempt to be logical, honest, and truly inclusive of all women except for trans women. But we'll get to that, I'm sure. Who put each other first in some or in all ways. It is meant to include lesbians as well as women who, while they are intensely gyne affectionate, would not define themselves as lesbians. Guide affection is intended to make honest and honorable distinctions, while at the same time avoiding simplistic sentimental inclusiveness. My use of the term guide affection and female friendship is intended to affirm the vast range and degrees and the manifestations of guide affection. In a woman-hating society, the whole range of female friendships and guide affective acts are taboo. Not true, but okay. More is encoded in this taboo than male fear of lesbian. Men do not fear lesbian sexuality and eroticism. Men feel fear women being in power, but not lesbian sexuality and eroticism. In my opinion, men's ultimate fear is a threat posed by all dimensions, degrees, and manifestations of women's personal political movement towards and for each other. Dear God. Okay. Page 21. The title of this book. So, this is, by the way, this is still the introduction. I have not gotten past the introduction. This is why I might need to do something else in between the introduction and chapter 1. But yeah, it's this person seems to not, it's like not, it accepts that women for some reason are different from her, but does not understand how people can be different from her. I get that impression. It's very much all women can make the choice to fuck other women, but I don't understand why women don't make that choice, which is the same framework as what she defines as hetero relation or whatever. But yeah, I don't think I can take more of this book for until next Monday, and even then it's questionable. But dear God, I hate this book. So much word salad. I hope you've had a good time. I know this is just effectively analysis and breakdown, but like, and there are probably other people who have broken down aspects of this better. I don't know. I want to go through this stuff for me, and if you enjoyed the analysis, learned something from it, good. And also make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the content and want to watch more of it. But also, dear God. So, wait, no, let me to show you this. So the title of this book, the method of this book, genealogy. Political is personal. It's important to analyze. Then, chapter 1. Origins of female friendship. In the beginning was woman. So that I agree it's important to analyze. This book, this book is, I can get through like 2 chapter sections. I don't know why the introduction was so long. like this is a 150-page book, and the introduction is probably like 23 pages. I want to say. Just keep scrolling. Scrolling. That mouse was. Oh, okay. It's 10 pages, but it's so. I almost want to say obsequious, but like I don't know if that's a technical dictionary definition of obsequious. Obedient it, or attentive to an excessively uh servile degree. Okay, so not obsequious, but uh, uh tiring. Anyways, have a wonderful night, everyone. And take care of yourselves. I will be streaming on Twitch in a little under an hour. I'll be doing some. I will be doing some more League of Legends, and also and then after that, King's Quest 2. So yeah, and have a wonderful day. Take care of yourselves.